Everyone wants to know, how could it be that a mere 40 days after the revelation at Sinai, the Hebrew people worshipped an idol? How could that possibly have happened? We are going to read the narrative twice. The first time, we are going to go through it just to note difficulties, problems, and open questions concerning the question of idol worship. We don't want to hear answers, because until you see all of the problems and review all of the evidence, it's inappropriate to start floating clues. After you see the whole story with all the difficulties, then we can look at one single integrated, coordinated way to explain all the difficulties, and then we'll have a better idea of what the story is about. So just difficulties we're going to point out. We're not going to answer any questions. After we've gone through the text, looked at all the difficulties, we will come back and start giving answers to all the difficulties. And most of them, I think you have already mentioned most of them during our intro. So let's begin. When the people saw that Moses was late in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron, and they said to him, "Come on, make us gods that will go before us, because this man Moses, who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." They say, "Make us gods." That makes it look like the first verse incriminates them. So, as usual, we are trained to shut our minds. But contrary to common practice, don't shut your mind yet. Keep your mind open, and we'll see what else we can find. What is the problem? What problem are they facing that is provoking this crisis? Moses did not come back. That was the problem. What is the solution that is being proposed? Get new gods. Now, is the solution related in any obvious way to the problem? Because Moses disappeared, is that the cause of changing your, let's say, religion? Get new gods. Was it customary in the ancient world to get new gods when your king died and then you change religions? I don't think so. So the question that we have here is, what is the connection between the problem and the solution? That is problem number one. That is difficulty number one. You don't change religions, or you don't go after new gods when your leader dies. We don't see that happen in the ancient world. So what is it that they're asking here? The problem and the solution doesn't seem to compute. So that's difficulty number one. Put that in your spirit. By the way, according to the text, there's a question. Did you think, or did they think of Moses as a deity? Does anything in the verse give us a clue? Did they say anything? Look at the verses 1. Did they say anything that's relevant to this question? Did they think of Moshe as a god, as a deity? I see yes on the board. Okay. I see yes. It appears so. Yes, 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 no. Yes, no. Okay, so those who are saying no, you are correct. Mr. Drew answered the question. No, they did not see him as a deity. Now, why do I say that? And why is Mr. Drew correct? Look at the text very carefully. That's true. They say this man, Moses. They're not looking at him as a deity. He is a mere man, as we have in blue, color-coded. So they're not looking at Moshe as a deity. He is a man to them. He's not a god. It's good to note. Put that in your spirit. Secondly, what did they want the gods for? They said to go before us. Now we know very well in ancient times that the gods were pictured as doing lots of important things. Fighting your battles, providing you with food, giving you health, even childbirth, without you dying. They protect you from that. They protect you from natural pestilences, etc. And yes, if you have to trek, it will be good for them to guide you where you are going. But it's very peculiar that that is the only function they mention about this God that they're asking Aaron to make them, just to go before them. That's all they ask. They're not asking the God to worship. They said, make us gods to go before us. Awesome. Let's go on. Aaron said to them, remove the golden earrings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them, those earrings, to me. And all the people stripped themselves of the golden earrings that were on their ears and brought them to Aaron. Let me pause here. Did the people do what they were asked to do? I'll read it again. Aaron said to them, whoever these them are, those who came and made the proposal, remove the golden earrings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring those earrings to me. And all the people stripped themselves of the golden earrings that were on their ears and brought them to Aaron. Did they do what they were told to do? Yes? No? 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 Awesome. Let's move on. He took them from their hands, fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made it into a molten calf, upon which they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you up from the land of Egypt. This sentence is really, really very peculiar. First of all, how could this be what brought them out of Egypt when they just created it, when they just invented it? But they left Egypt 3.5 months ago. There is something a little odd about that. That's number one. Secondly, the Hebrew is in the plural, gods, but they make only one graven image. So how come they are speaking about it in the plural? The most shocking of all is the introduction. They said, in blue on the screen. Who is speaking? Up until here, we have Aaron and the people. Aaron is one person, and the people is everyone else. Now, who said, these are your gods, O Israel? The speaker sounds like he is not part of this group, or they are not part of this group. It's they, no, it's they, so it's not Aaron. So who is talking? Sounds like there is somebody here on the stage who has not been introduced. Put that in your spirit. These are all difficulties in the text that we need to answer. Number 5. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of it, and Aaron proclaimed and said, "Tomorrow shall be a festival to Yah." Now, I want you to pay attention to this because this is critical. This actually changes the narrative. If what is going on here is forsaking Moses as God and going back to Egyptian calf worship, how could Aaron say a festival to Yah tomorrow? He does not say a festival to the idol that he just created, the statue. The festival, the feast is to Yah, Moshe's God. This changes the narrative. Aaron never did a festival or a feast to the idol. He says tomorrow shall be a festival to Yah. Awesome. Put that in your spirit. What is going on there? Why the wedding by Aaron? Why not a feast to the statue, but to Yah? On the next day, they arose early, offered up burnt offering, and brought peace offering, and the people sat down to eat and to drink, and they got up to make merry. And Yah said to Moses, "Go, descend, for your people that you have brought up from the land of Egypt have acted corruptly." This is a classic thing that happens when, let's say, you are at work and you get a call from your wife and she says, "Do you know what your son did?" Automatically, you know that your son did something wrong, because her statement is, "Do you know what your son did?" But when she calls and she says, "Do you know what my son did?" you know that he did something very good. This is the same case here. Yeah? And she's taking credit for the good deed that, according to her son did. How can, as Madam Cynthia called it out, how can Yah say to Moses, "your people"? Wait a second. You sent this man to go bring your people out, and he's done that. Now there is a little difficulty. They've messed up. Now you're sort of passing them off to Moshe. Now it is his people. Come on. You can't do that. Either they're your people from the get-go all through, or they're not. You can't just disown them because they did something wrong. No. As parents, we take responsibilities for the good and then the bad. But Yah is distancing himself from them here. He's kind of passing them off on Moshe. What is going on here? And he's going to accuse them. Let's read again from verse 7. And Yah said to Moshe, "Go, descend, for your people that you brought up from the land of Egypt have acted corruptly. They have quickly turned away from the path that I have commanded them. They have made themselves a molten calf, and they have prostrated themselves before it, slaughtered sacrifices to it, and said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you up from the land of Egypt.'" This verse requires very careful analysis. So we're going to take our time here. In verses 7, Yah said that they have become corrupt. Something terrible has happened. What has happened? They have quickly turned away from the path that I have commanded them. They have made themselves a molten calf. They have prostrated themselves before it, slaughtered sacrifices to it, and said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you up from the land of Egypt." Now, I want you to read as if you are a prosecutor. How many counts are there in the indictment? How many criminal offenses? How many illegal actions against which you could have a law? Don't do that. I'll read it again because it's important. How many counts are there in the indictment? How many criminal offenses? How many illegal actions? Actions against which you could have a law that says don't do that. I have one on the chat. Someone says 3, someone says 5, someone says at least 5, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 3, 4, 5. I'm writing them down. 5, 5, 2. Okay. 4, 4, 5, 3, 5, 5, 4. At least 5. Nice. Awesome. We have some very good prosecutors here. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Nice. Awesome. Now let's see. I think these days we should make some of us professional prosecutors. It would help us because you're very critical with the text, and that is good. I'm very excited that you're critical with the text. I have color coded this. Now let's look at this. First accusation. They have made themselves a molten calf. Question. Can you have a law that says don't have statues? That is a question. Can you have a law that says don't have statues? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. Awesome. That is true. Yes, you can have a law that says don't have statues. So yeah, is right. They've broken that law. Number 2, accusation. They have prostrated themselves before it. Can you have a law that says don't prostrate before statues? Yes. Awesome. Very good. Number 3, he says they slaughter sacrifices to it. Can you have a law that says don't slaughter sacrifices to statues? Absolutely, yes. Awesome. Number 4, they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you up from the land of Egypt. Can you have a law that says don't identify a statue as a god or as your god? Yes, you can. Number 5, you want to pause and think about this one carefully. He says they have quickly turned away from the path that I have commanded them. Can you have a law that says don't stray away from the path I commanded you? I see yes, 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 yes. Madam Yvette says no. Madam Jeanette says no. Madam Keisha says no. Brother Caleb says no. Okay, now those who said no, why do you say no? I agree with you, but I want to know your train of thought. Why do you say no? Free will. They're saying free will. It's your path. I must choose. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, I see where you're coming from. Let me explain why I say no. I'll give you an example. It's a no. You can't have a law that says don't stray away from the path I commanded you, because that law doesn't forbid anything. The law doesn't tell you what to do or what not to do. Let me give you an analogy. This will make it make a little clearer. The policeman brings a criminal to the judge, and the judge asks him, what did he do wrong? The policeman says he committed 3 crimes. The judge says, I want to hear him. Number 1, he stole a car. That is auto theft. Number 2 crime, he ran the red light. Traffic violation. That is not going good for this criminal. And the 3rd crime he committed was he broke the law. That is not a 3rd crime. You cannot have a law that says don't break the law because it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you to do anything. It does not permit anything. It's just totally empty. You can't say he broke the law. That is not a crime. What did he do? The first two that you said, he stole a car. Of course he did. That's auto theft. He ran a red light. Okay. So the third one, you can't say he broke the law. That's not a crime. Similarly, you can't have a law that says, don't stray away from the path I commanded you. Because that alone tells me absolutely nothing. So the question then is, what is the first clause doing in the sentence? Why is it there? What job is it doing there? Verses 7 already ended. They have become corrupt. That is an introduction to something's gone wrong. After verses 7, I accept a delineation of the crimes. But you start with a clause that doesn't tell me anything. It's not a description of a crime. They have turned away from the path that I've commanded them. So which one did they break? Will be the question. It's very important. Moshe is going to pick this up. Verses 7 tells me they've done something wrong. It's corrupted. They've made a mistake. They've sinned. Now I want you to start telling me. If you're the policeman and you said the first count, they broke the law. The judge will go like, okay, which one? Because you cannot have a command. You cannot have a law that says don't break the law. You haven't told the person what to do, what not to do, what they cannot do. It's just a statement. Put that in your spirit because it makes the case interesting. Now, I will not go through 9, 10, 12. This is all back and forth, Yah and Moshe. That is not my focus. So, Moses is coming down. Now, it came to pass when he drew closer to the camp and saw the calf and the dancers, that Moses' anger was kindled, and he flung the tablets from his hands, shattering them at the foot of the mountain. Then he took the calf they had made, burnt it in fire, ground it to fine powder, scattered it upon the surface of the water, and gave it to the children of Israel to drink. Beautiful. Moses said to Aaron, it's a very interesting conversation, what did the people do to you that you brought such a grave sin upon them? Aaron replied, let not my Lord's anger grow hot. You know the people, that they are disposed towards evil. They said to me, make us gods who will go before us. Because this man Moses, who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. Verses 23 is an exact quote from verses 1. I said to them, who has gold? So they took the gold of who has gold? So they took it, that is the gold, off and gave it to me. I threw it into the fire and out came this calf. Now, let's suppose you're reading this as an invitation to idol worship. Let's suppose that. Moses is saying to Aaron, what did they do to you that you brought such a grievous sin on them? Aaron's response, don't get angry. Don't get angry, Moshe. Because this is what happened. Wait a second. Don't get angry? This is not theft. This is idol worship, capital punishment. You don't get an excuse for it. You killed on the spot. Look at how Aaron is taking it. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. He's supposed to get angry. Because this is what happened. They asked me for idol worship, and I gave it to them. So don't get angry. Why shouldn't Moses get angry? Is there anything worse than national idol worship? I mean, Aaron's response here is very peculiar. The question is, what did they do to you that you involved yourself in national idol worship? Let's say that. The answer, well, you know that they are evil. You know that they have evil dispositions. And they asked me for a national idol and I gave it to them. Okay. To me, that's a very good reason to be angry. But Aaron says, don't get angry. And I want you to know, Aaron is just not anybody. Yah chose him to help Moshe for a reason. Don't get angry, but that doesn't explain why he shouldn't be angry. What do you mean don't get angry? If this is idol worship, he's supposed to get angry. He's supposed to rebuke you. But Moses, notice, Moses is apparently satisfied with Aaron's response and goes on to other matters. He doesn't rebuke Aaron like he would rebuke him in the future when something else happens. And Aaron is taking it so casually. Is there anything worse than a national idol worship? And when he's confronted, his first thing, instead of saying, I have sinned, forgive me, don't get angry. He's not apologizing. Don't get angry. What is going on here? Huge difficulty. Huge. We should expect him going on his knees and says, I have sinned, forgive me, they pressured me. No. Don't get angry because it's not a big deal. What are you worried about, Moshe? You know these people. Okay. That's a huge difficulty that we need to answer. And Moses saw the people that they were exposed, for Aaron had exposed them to be disgraced before their adversaries. Interesting. So Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, whoever is for Yah, let him come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered around him. And he said to them, so said Yah, your Elohim of Israel, let every man place his sword upon his thigh and pass back and forth from one gate to the other in the camp. And let every man kill his brother, every man his friend, every man his kinsman. The sons of Levi did according to Moshe's word. On that day, some 3,000 men fell from among the people. Wait a second. We're told that 600,000 men, an estimate, came out of Egypt. And after this incident, only about 3,000 men out of 600,000 men died. If you do the math, you add the women and the children, you're looking at almost 1,200,000, maybe more. 3,000 men were killed by the Levites. The question that leaps onto the page is, what makes them different from everyone else? How come the Levites killed a very small percentage and left everyone else alive? What difference is there between the two groups? Those that were killed and those that were left alive. There's got to be some difference to explain this. Only 3,000 were killed. In verses 35, as Madam Cynthia mentioned, we are told that and Yah struck the people with a plague because they had made the calf that Aaron had made. Look at the accusation. I think verses 35 gives it all up, what's going on here. Then Yah struck the people with a plague because they had made the calf that Aaron had made. Now, Yah struck the people with a plague. How many people died in the plague? The text here doesn't give us the number. But when you look at the census of the people before this incident and then the census after this incident, the difference is only a few thousand. So let's say, give and take, let's say 15,000 people were killed by the plague. How are these people different from everyone else? Why did Moshe or the Levites not kill these people? You have let's say we have three sets of people or three groups. 3,000 were killed by the Levites. The other group were not touched at all, the majority, and then we have about 15,000 that were killed by the plague. Why the different forms of killing? Why did the Levites not kill the 15,000 that Yah killed in verses 35 with a plague? This is another difficulty, trying to find out what is going on. Okay. Now, Moshe goes back. It came to pass on the next day that Moses said to the people, "You have committed a grave sin, and now I will go up to Yah. Perhaps I will obtain atonement for your sin." And Moses returned to Yah and said, "Please, the people have committed a grave sin. They have made themselves a god of gold." Moses here is like a defense attorney. He comes to the judge and says, "Your Honor, my client is guilty. I have no rationalization, no justification, no defense. He is guilty. I know according to the rules, you should throw the book at him. But I am asking you for mercy. Please show mercy. Don't throw the book at him. Please have mercy on him." This is a plea for mercy. Good. Now, what crime is Moses asking for mercy? He said, they have made themselves a god of gold. What? Do you see anything wrong with Moses and his argument here? There will be a question. What is, I'll say, what is wrong with Moses? They have made themselves a god of gold? That is your argument? But I seem to remember in verses 8, the indictment was a lot more than that. If you remember, they have made themselves a molten calf, number 1. They have prostrated themselves before it, number 2. They slaughter sacrifices to it, number 3. They said, "These are your gods who brought you up from the land of Egypt," number 4. What about all this? Shall we imagine Moses coming before Yah, the judge, and saying, "I know, Your Honor, they are accused of 4 crimes: making a statue, bowing to it, offering sacrifices to it, and identifying with it that it took them out of Egypt. They are guilty of all 4 crimes, but I'm asking you to have mercy for crime number 1. What? Now, which of the 4 is the least significant of the crimes? That is a question. Please look at the 4. Which of the 4 is the least significant? Someone say C. Okay. D. D. Okay. A. I see A coming. A, D. A. Yes. Clearly, manufacturing it is the least significant. Making an idol is not a nice thing to do, but it does not hold a candle to bowing to it or offering sacrifices to it or saying this is the God that took us out of Egypt. The least significant is A. Why is Moses asking for mercy for the least significant crime and leave alone the most significant crimes. If Moshe was my attorney, I would have replaced him. No arguments. What? You come to ask mercy for the least? What about the other three? These are the questions that leap off the page. If you don't know the answers to these questions, you don't know what happened. You don't know what the story says. And if you don't know what the story says, then anthropology, sociology, psychology, economics, politics, and all those other academic disciplines are premature. If you don't know what it says, it's not yet time to ask why it said it. Text first. All the ologies are second. The text is always first. These are the difficulties in the text that we need to deal with. So now, we're going to go to the answers. And let's see if we can make a case for Aaron, for the people. Why Moshe does things that are outrageous. His arguments are like, what? Moshe?